Yo, what's good everybody? Welcome to the training. In this module, I'm going to be talking about how you're going to build massive legs in 10 steps. Alright, let's get to it. Step number 1, focus on compound lifts. When I do leg day, the majority of my time, I am just at the squat rack for like 50% of my time. These are the lifts that you really want to focus on and really focus on getting stronger. Number 1 is going to be obviously all the barbell stuff. Barbell squats, front squats, deadlifts, barbell lunges, barbell Bulgarian split squats, and barbell hip thrusters. These should be your main focus in the gym. Honestly, these are the only things that I actually care about in the gym. I don't care about my bench press or how much pull-ups I could do. I only care about my leg day. Everything else is just fun stuff, alright? So focus on, really getting stronger on the barbell lifts. That's step number 1. Number 2, this is the biggest mistake I see people do, is they use these leg isolation exercises, at the wrong time. So for example, leg isolation exercises would be leg extension, hamstring curls, leg press, and I use the Smith machine as well to isolate my legs. So you really want to use these things, but you want to use them after you've done all your barbell work already. So that's how I split up my leg day. It's barbell stuff first and then isolation exercises at the end. Alright, number 3, probably the most important thing for building massive legs or just massive muscles in general is going to be focus on eccentric loading always. Alright, so if you guys don't know what eccentric loading is, basically you have 2 phases in a muscle contraction. One is where you stretch your muscles. Usually it's the easier part of a lift. Actually not usually, always it's the easiest part of a lift. And this is usually where people go fast and they don't take advantage of this part. And then there's a concentric phase where it's the harder part. So for example, if you're doing a squat, it would be the way down is eccentric and on the way up is concentric. You always want to go really slow. I like to count 4 seconds sometimes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's sometimes how long I take just to go down and do half my rep. And then you want to explode up on the concentric phase and go up 1 second, like literally as fast as you can. And the reason why is because when you do this, you're activating some different muscle fibers. And these muscle fibers that you're activating are the most responsive for growing. So they have slow twitch and fast twitch. The fast twitch are actually going to grow more than the slow twitch. And if you're just moving really slow, then you're not going to build as much. And if you're just moving way too fast, you're not taking advantage of the eccentric loading, which is what actually signals your brain to make the muscles grow. It's not feeding following the pump. Everybody's always trying to get the pump. That doesn't do anything for you. It's all about the stretch and focusing on eccentric loading. All right. Number 4. And this sounds contra-intuitive, but this actually is really related to a lot of the other muscles in the body. You want to focus on your hamstrings more than your quads. People don't know this, but actually how big your quads can get is really limited to how big your hamstrings are. So most people are going to be quad dominant, but the issue is if your hamstrings aren't strong enough and are not big enough, you're really not going to be able to build up your quads as much. So really focus on building your hamstrings. I would do this by really perfecting your deadlifts and doing like leg extension, leg curls and stuff like that. Number 5, train legs at least twice a week. Biggest mistake I've ever seen anybody do is training one body part a day and then they're only hitting legs in one time in a week. The problem is that you have something called a glycogen supercompensation curve. Basically, you start here at baseline, you work out, you actually decrease because you break down muscle, right? And then your body supercompensates by bringing you back up here. But the thing is, if you wait too long, your body's going to go back down to baseline, so you won't actually make any progress like this. So hit legs at least twice a week. Some people can handle more, especially women. Actually, they can recover better than men. I don't know why. That's just what I've read. So, an example, another thing I want to point out is that you don't want to do the same leg routine twice in a week. You want to have 2 different leg routines and stick to them for at least your first cycle, mesocycle. So, for example, I like to focus on the first lift that I do is going to be the heaviest and the hardest for me. So the first thing, for example, I would do back squats on one day and do that, and then do my heaviest on that day. And the second time I would do legs, I would focus on deadlifts first, because the thing is, if I try to do deadlifts after my squats, I'm not going to be able to lift as heavy, and I'm not working to my potential. Another thing is you should space out your leg days, only like 3 to 4 days. If you're taking too much longer than that, that's when you're going to go back down to baseline and then you're basically starting all over again, which isn't the point here. And another thing as well, if your legs aren't fully recovered by the time you're ready to hit legs again, I would give it another day's rest because you really want to be at your full capacity to work your legs out. Because if they're sore, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you feel like they're weak and tight and you're not fully recovered, you're not going to be able to work at your potential, and you're really limiting yourself on how much you could lift. And then at that point, you're not going to be as strong. So it's training legs at least twice a week. Number 6, very, very important, stretching and mobility. They're very important for 2 different reasons. Number 1, stretching. For people who don't know this, it's all people always want to lift weights, and they think that's what actually builds muscles. But the thing is, there's two factors that help you build muscle. Number 1 is lifting weights, which make your muscles thicker in size, and then stretching is actually what makes your muscles longer. So you really want to do both, obviously, because you're just kind of like having one thing and not the other. It's not going to be the best result for you. And the second thing is mobility. The thing is, when you lift weights, your muscles get tighter, because obviously a muscle contracts and contracts, gets shorter and shorter. That's what contraction is. Contraction is when your muscle shortens, right? So if you're just contracting all the time and you're not stretching it out afterwards, your muscles are going to get shorter and you're going to get tighter. And the problem with this is going to happen is that your mobility is going to start to go down. And the real issue is that when you have poor mobility, you can't even do these compound lifts that I'm talking about. There's no way that, if you have tight hamstrings, tight flexors, and tight shoulders and poor thoracic mobility, there's no possible way you can do a deadlift properly without rounding your back. It's literally impossible. Your body can't do it. No matter how much knowledge you have on how to do a deadlift properly, you can't do it. It's not physically possible. So mobility, you need to keep your mobility on point, and you do this by stretching the right way, okay? There's right way and wrong way. I won't get into how to stretch properly in this video. Basically, yeah, stretching, super important for building muscle and preventing injury and keeping your body from enabling your body to do these lifts properly. Number 7, patience. You guys have to have patience, okay? Building muscle takes a long time, unless you're on steroids. Basically what steroids does is it speeds up the whole process. It can give you like 10 years worth of results in like 1 year, which is really crazy, right? But you have to be patient. This stuff takes time, especially if you're not on steroids, which I don't. You shouldn't take steroids, obviously. So you got to be patient and there's something called muscle maturity. The longer you work out, the more dense your muscles get and the more they grow. It's just a long process. You got to be consistent. You can't give up and get down on yourself when you don't see immediate results, okay? Patience. Number 8. Strength. All right, this is kind of counterintuitive as well, because I just said, you want to work at strength. Basically, when I say strength, it means that you're lifting heavier weights for less reps. That's what I mean by strength. So this is counterintuitive because I always talk about high volume, which means higher reps and stuff like that. So, but the thing is, the reason why strength is important is because if you get stronger in a certain lift, say for example, back squat, you can actually do more reps at a heavier weight. So what you want to do is, after you've like really mastered your compound lifts, then I would go through like a strength cycle where you focus on mainly building strength, where you're going to be lifting around 6 reps or less, and try to build up your strength, and then you're going to go back to, you should be able to lift a heavier weight for that 8 to 12 reps, and that's obviously going to increase your volume and help you build more muscle. Number 9, this is kind of related to the strength factor, is you want to work through all the rep ranges. Basically, you want to have some lifts where you're going to do like 6 reps, some lifts where you're going to do like 8 to 10, and then you're going to have some lifts where you're going to do like 12 to 15. This is just another factor for building muscle, kind of like eccentric loading. There's a couple different factors, and this is just one of them. So you want to go through all the rep ranges in a leg workout. And lastly, 10, deload. Okay, guys, you can't just keep on adding weight, increasing sets, and keep increasing reps. You can't do that just forever. You have to have a week periodically. It really depends on when, to be honest, on the person. But you have to have a week periodically where you're going to deload your volume. So basically, you're going to cut your volume down by 50 to 30% for a week. Keep all the same weight, just decrease the sets. And this is going to give your body a chance to recover. And then so that way, when you go back onto the next week, you're able to go back where you are, and then you should be fully recovered and keep on progressing from there. I hope you guys found this video useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me a message, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.